Thanks very much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, at least 52 Palestinian protesters in Gaza are shot as the UN opens its embassy in Jerusalem. That leads South Africa to recall its ambassador to Israel. Also, a bomb is discovered at a mosque just days after it was the site of a fatal raid by armed gunmen. Religiously motivated attacks are rare in South Africa, and its elite police unit are sent in to investigate the violence. And days after dozens of people are killed in an attack the government blames on an unnamed terrorist group, Burundi faces a tense start to the week as it gears up for a controversial referendum that could extend the president's term. But first, South Africa's recalled its ambassador to Israel over the deaths of Palestinian protesters in Gaza. At least 52 were killed in clashes with Israeli forces during the US embassy's opening in Jerusalem on Monday. South Africa's relations with Israel have long been frosty. The ruling ANC parties condemned Israeli occupation of territories where Palestinians seek statehood. Now, South Africa has slammed US President Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and warned that it would undermine the Israeli-Palestinian peace process. Jane Flanagan tells us more.
He said today, no, the ambassador will be withdrawn. Recalled tonight. So as far as the last thing I heard is he's flying tonight. He's leaving Tel Aviv and he'll be back in South Africa by tomorrow. So the swiftness with which South Africa recalled him back to Pretoria, they wanted to send a clear message that they simply find the scenes that we've seen today absolutely repugnant.
So when did relations between the two countries sour?
Well, during the apartheid years, when the national government, national party ran South Africa, obviously South Africa was very isolated in those years, as was Israel, which was facing its own level of hostility around the world. So even though Israel publicly condemned the apartheid in South Africa, there was certainly a lot of trading and mutual benefit going on behind closed doors, particularly when it came to arming and sharing, making sure that both the countries had access to the arms they needed to defend themselves. Of course, the advent of the ANC government in 1994 was an absolute game changer for that relationship, and the relationship has been very sour ever since. The ANC government has not forgotten the part that Israel played, support behind the scenes that it gave to the National Party, and it has punished it ever since. One of the words that South Africa deliberately uses time and time again to describe the treatment of the Palestinians by the government of Israel is apartheid, a very emotive word which the Israeli government gets very upset by, but it doesn't stop the South Africans saying it. The South African government does all it can to support the trade and business discrimination by Israeli producers, so that it's hard for Israelis to do business in South Africa. There are often academic boycotts and cultural boycotts. One of the South Africa's most popular DJs recently did a gig in Israel and was absolutely vilified on social media in South Africa for doing it. It is frowned upon and seen as very much a very disloyal act to be seen to be engaging at any level in Israel. And I can't see there's much way back now for the relationship between the two countries at the moment. From this stance today.
Well, staying with South Africa, police have confirmed that explosives have been found in a mosque days after it was attacked by armed men. The device was discovered 3 days after one person was killed in the building in Verulam, KwaZulu-Natal. No arrests have been made yet, but police believe the bomb may have been aimed at stalling the investigation into last week's attack.
Create some confusion, and it's trying to divert our attention from the investigation that we are looking for the 3 suspects who committed murder and attempted murder as well as arson. That's the focus area of our investigation.
Well, Cape Town's Shia Muslim community is on edge, and the neighbourhood around the mosque was evacuated after the device was found. Incidents of religiously motivated attacks are very rare in South Africa, so it's still not certain that that is what happened here. Our Aisha Ishmael tells us more about the response to the violence.
The South African government is taking this incident very seriously. It has been declared a priority crime and is being investigated by the Hawks, which is the elite police investigative unit. Now, South Africa has a proud history of religious intolerance, and so South Africans are very shocked at this incident. Also, there are about 1 million Muslims living in South Africa, and some security experts are saying that they doubt that this attack or this incident has anything to do with religious intolerance or radicalism. And with one security expert saying that she believes that it's more likely that this incident was personal and aimed at an individual.
Aisha Ishmael there for us. Now, 2 British tourists have been freed after having been kidnapped in eastern Congo last week. Robert Jesty and Bethan Davies were reportedly released unharmed. The UK has also paid respects to Rachel Makisa Baraka, the female park ranger who was killed as gunmen ambushed the vehicle in Virunga National Park. More than 175 rangers have died protecting the park. Militia groups still operate in much of the territory around it. An experimental Ebola vaccine program could begin in DR Congo by next week. 39 suspected cases of the disease have been logged in remote parts of Equator province, including 19 deaths. The outbreak still falls short of criteria for declaring a public health event of international concern.
Of water and sanitation, we will have to bring that behavior back in washing hands with chlorine, in taking temperature in schools, in public places, in health centers, everywhere basically. And then, of course, all the community work. I mean, we have to convince the people to fight Ebola.
Tensions are ramping up in Burundi ahead of a controversial referendum this week that could extend President Pierre Nkurunziza's term. The country's seen deadly political violence ever since 2015, when Nkurunziza successfully pursued a disputed third term. Most recently, dozens of people were killed last Friday. Nicolas Chemin tells us more.
Thursday's referendum in Burundi will take place in a bleak context. Just days before the vote, which could enable President Pierre Nkurunziza to remain in power until 2034, a deadly attack occurred in the northwest of the country. The security minister, who's considered to be the second most powerful man in Burundi, came to speak to the villagers of Ruhagarika.
These criminals killed 26 people. 24 died immediately, 2 others in hospital. The terrorist group that carried out this massacre came from DR Congo. We will join forces to fight this group.
Some locals said they did not understand why soldiers who were posted close by did not react more quickly.
The explosions and gunfire started around 10 p.m. It was near the road. Some people were killed when their mattresses burnt. They used petrol.
According to Human Rights Watch, some of those who opposed the referendum have been killed or beaten up by the authorities. When President Nkurunziza announced he was running for a third mandate in 2015, it sparked a wave of violence. Since then, more than 1,000 people have been killed, and more than 400,000 Burundians have fled to neighbouring countries.
And finally, Cameroon's Karl Toko Ekambi has won an award picked by France 24 and our sister radio station RFI. The Angers forward has been given the Marc-Vivien Foé prize and named Best African Player of the French Ligue 1. He succeeds last year's winner, Ivory Coast Jean-Michel Seri. Toko Ekambi, who was part of the Cameroon squad that won the 2017 Africa Cup of Nations in Gabon, scored 17 goals for Angers this season, making him the 8th highest scorer in the Ligue 1. The 25-year-old becomes the first Cameroonian winner of the Marc-Vivien Foé Award, which was named after another Cameroonian player who died after collapsing on the pitch in 2003.
This is a reward for the hard work I have put in. So I'm very proud to win this award. Those before me had a big impact on African football and on the Ligue 1, playing for major clubs and successful countries. So it's nice to be on that list.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.